Hello everyone, so my name is Thibaut. I will show you how to analyze quickly a dataset inside the Shiny app of Peccary. So to do that, you first have to open the Shiny app with the proper functions, Peccary app number 3, and then you have these pages. So it's much better to work with a project. So let's create a project first, or load a project if you already have an existing project. And then you click on pre-modelizations and datasets. For that, you first Peccary needs to know where to find datasets. So if you have a dataset here, you just have to copy and paste the pathway of the datasets. And what you see is that Peccary already guess what is the separator of it, and then you click on add, and here you have your table with your datasets. And let's say do the same thing for a second dataset, and here is the same thing. So it already also guess what is the x column, so the time, and the observations. If you are working with a project, don't forget then to save the modifications, and then when you will reopen it, then this table will already be loaded, so you have to do that only once by project. Then what you see here is that you have your two datasets, and well, in dataset explorations, what you can do is observe the datasets, and you can switch from one dataset to the other very quickly. What you can do is then you want to have your table 1 to look at the statistics about your patients. So one of the problems generally is that you have several rows for the same ID, so you need to have one row per ID. So to do that, you click on ID and click then on Go. And when you do that, Peccary analyze every columns and just keep the columns where you have one value per ID. And if you can have several column header here, for instance, if you want ID and occasion, for instance, you can have occasions here. So here you have all your covariates, and then on table 1 you can just say, okay, I want to know the weight as a continuous covariates, and I want to know this as a covariate cut, and then I can do for instance that, and you will directly have your table 1. So if you have count, it means continuous covariates, and you will have mean, median, and things like that. And if it's a categorical covariates, then you will have the percentage for each thing. What you can also do is count what. So here the idea is to have a boolean, so it will pre-select only the column where there is a boolean, true, false, or 0 and 1, and then you can say, okay, so let's suppose that this is the good responder of a treatment or patient who are having a side effect, and you can have then here you can have the covariates, and then you can go and you have for each combinations you know how many patients does have this boolean equal to 1 or equal to true. So it's as simple as that, and then you can save if you want things by just clicking on them, and you click on that, and then you will be able to reload that every time you want, so you won't have to read the same things. And then you will have all the available analysis, and then you click on load, and you will reopen and refill every field that are needed. Then you have the graphical explorations. So here is to do mostly the spaghetti plots. So every plot can be resized by clicking on that, and you can switch from one dataset to the other, which means it's very powerful because you can change the datasets very easily. So first things, you have a filter. So it's basically a ggplot, so you have all the basic ggplots that you want. So for instance, if you want to wrap by hybrid type, you can wrap by hybrid types. You can have here a filter, so you don't want, for instance, hybrid types. So here you have all your observations, and you can colorize by the dose, for instance, by absolutely what you want. And one thing I really do like to do is, let's say I just want ID above and ID 300. So to have less patience, and y type equal 2. So here you have just some of the equations. You see that it's very easy to do filters. And when you do the wrap by ID, generally what you have is that. And so you can select here if you want a wrap which is free, free is free, and so on. But what I really do like to do is click on that, and that way you will have the you will see perfectly where every patient is compared to the other, which is in background. And in second filters, you can say, okay, what I want to do is specifically look at these patients, and click on that and do, okay, what is this patient? And so you have two filters, but here, if I do that, the filter will be applied and you will not see the patients in the background. But if I do that, you do see the patients in the background, because you have here the hair codes that Peccary is produced, and you see that you have a first filter here, so which corresponds to these filters. Then you store this filter for the background, and then you apply the second filters. And this is why in the background you only have this filter that is applied, but in this you have this things. So for instance, you can do that. So you can really do what you want, something like that, for instance. Well, you can do that very easily. And then what you can do is having a name of that and say, okay, it's my first thing, so it's with tip 2, and do the saving. And so what you can also do then is, okay, let's say I want ID 1, and say tip 1. So let's do that, save, and then you see that you have datasets. And if I click here, I refound my previous datasets. So I can switch from another datasets and do the same thing, and store a name, and then I can re-switch from one dataset and re-click on that, and then reopen my datasets. And every time you will load your project, this table will be here. So you let's do it. So I quit my datasets and I do Peccary app 3. So it's clearly a new project, and I reopen that. So I'm just loading my project. It's called demo, and then you see my two datasets, and then critical explorations. You can click on that and we have the same things, which works great. Then you have the NCA. So let's take, for instance, feelings, and with that filter, so to have every patient. And when you do that, you have basic NCA. So here is the Peccary NCA, which is not quite developed yet. You can filter by those, for instance, and have some elements of your Peccary. Or those cat will be better. And so you will have also a table here. It's not quite developed. So what I also did is pick a NCA, and let's say you want the same thing. So here you will use the package PKNCA, and you will have for each patient the table and also the statistics about covariates. And what you have, so here is all the option for the NCA package, PKNCA package, that you can do. And so if you want some additional information, please just look at this package PKNCA. And what you have here is then you will have the code available here to know how to build actually this PKNCA. Okay, so just a little cut for the end. So you might have noticed that in the video there was lots of fields that I did not explain. It's because you don't have to use everything as the first use of Peccary, which might confuse you. And in any way, most of the fields are very instinctive, and when you will modify them, you will see what they are doing and what they are used for, and you will have a technical documents where you will find what they are used for anyway. So This is why I did not explain everything, and it was useless, I think, to have a 20-minute video just for that. And the second thing is that please note that Peccary is a collaborative project. It's not my package. It belongs to everyone. And so if you want to improve the systems, and everything might be improved, I will do a video where I show every function, how I coded it in Peccary, in which files you can see the code regarding specific functions and how you might improve them. And so that way, if you don't like something, or if you find a bug, you might modify it by yourself. And in fact, it's quite not difficult at all to do that.